Sanctimonious, loudmouth, know-it-all coaches. Well, that's what Coach Brent Venables was called recently by Mike Wilbon over at ESPN on PTI. But what's fascinating about that is that it's all coming together from, honestly, what I believe is a nothing burger. So I'm asking this question. Does it really warrant that type of, irritation on Wilbon? We're going to talk about that. But first, welcome to Unfair Sports. If you are new to the channel, I am your host, Jay. Thank you for pulling up here and joining us. Hit that like button if you like the video. And if you're new, subscribe. We would love to have you around for this college football content and community that we're building. We're on the rise for 10,000 subs, and we would love for you to be a part of it. And so let me dive right into this. So it appears that there's pew, 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 a whole bunch of shots taken by Coach Brent Venables at Big 12 Media Days last week. I've been out on vacation, as one of my viewers asked. I'll tell you all about it on the Sunday stream. We'll talk about me taking a week and some change off for my birthday. But I wanted to come back and talk about this because a few people have hit me up asking my thoughts and how I felt about it. And so here we are. And so first and foremost, let's look at kind of the timeline of what went down. And I'll give you on the back end, so stick around throughout the entire video, as to why I really feel like this is a nothing burger. So for those that are curious in the beginning, I'm going to say it now. It's a nothing burger. So you can exit stage right if you want to, because all of this is blown out of proportion, because the context behind the conversation means a lot more. And so let's dive right into the timeline. First and foremost, Coach Brent Venables was at Media Days and was asked the question about the team and the approach and everything. And so this is what Coach Brent Venables said. I'm going to go ahead and play the video first, and then we'll talk through it.
I think we were a fatigued team at times, and it matters. Making a play, getting a stop, making the catch, making that block, not getting the penalty, not missing the field goal. In all four of our three-point losses, we missed field goals. In 3 of the 4 games, we had touchdowns taken off the board because of penalty. So we got to be more efficient there. 3rd and 4th downs, red zone offense and defense. Better turnover margin. We're top 25 in turnover margin, but we dropped 8 interceptions right in our hands. We would have led the country in interceptions a year ago. We led the conference in interceptions, but we would have led the country. And that stuff matters in winning and losing, especially a bunch of one-score games. So, we're another year in our systems on offense and defense and the kicking game. We're another year in our strength and conditioning, setting all kinds of PRs, which matter with our power and our speed and our explosiveness. We're another year in establishing our standards and our culture and our values. That matters, A year ago, I challenged the guys. I wasn't like Dion and give guys a bunch of pink slips. I gave guys 12 months of grace to go to class, live right off the field, and to show up with a great urgency and respect for your opportunity at the University of Oklahoma.
So as you heard him say, he didn't give out pink slips like Coach Prime did. He gave everybody 12 months of grace to get things right. And so if people feel like that's a shot because there has been a ton of turnover at Colorado around the transfer portal, I mean, they had like 80-something players in total really enter in, basically redid the entire roster for the most part overall. And if you think that was a shot, he's basically quoting the words of Coach Prime. This is what Coach Prime said when he got there.
We got a few positions already taken care of because I'm bringing my luggage with me. And it's Louis. Okay. It ain't gonna be no more of the mess that these wonderful fans, the student body, and some of your parents have put up with for probably 2 decades now. I'm coming. And when I get here, it's gonna be changed. So I want y'all to get ready to go ahead and jump in that portal and do whatever you're gonna get. Because the more you jump in, the more room you make. Because we bring kids that are smart, say that, smart, tough.
So you heard that. Louis, he's bringing his own luggage, and it's Louis. So meaning he bring his own players, and he said at the end, go ahead and hop in that transfer portal if you need to, which that's basically what happened. Most of the kids decided to go. And so Coach BV wasn't taking a shot. He wasn't saying that what Prime did was wrong. He's just saying he did it differently and went ahead and gave a little bit more grace this time around. And you want me to be honest? I bet you that's why Coach Prime walked into Colorado and said he's refreshing this immediately, because that's the one thing that maybe with Coach BV did by giving that grace. He mentioned it in the video. We lost games that were one-score games. They were barely losses. There were little mistakes, little pieces of discipline that could have been instilled that should have been executed on, and they would have won those games. But it takes time for that. You got to give grace in order for your team to flip around, especially when you have 45 players basically turn over within your first, few months of being there before the season even starts. See what I'm saying? A lot of players were out at Oklahoma, and so he gave them a year. Coach Prime's realizing that, other coaches have done that, and it's very tough the first year. Let me see if I can expedite this, which isn't a bad thing. I think it's a good approach. If it works, if it doesn't work, then honestly, Colorado only won one game last year. I know Colorado fans, my bad for mentioning that a lot, but y'all only won one game last year. So really the only direction is up at this point. And I can see you all going up, especially because you have a quarterback, which is the most important part is having a quarterback and then having receivers that can make it work together. And with Sean Lewis as OC, that offense will run beautifully with Shedeur Sanders because it's a lot easier on the wide receivers, whereas Lebby's is not at Oklahoma. But I digress. So that, to me, was not a shot. But then it made it even funnier because then this quote came out. Let's look at this quote. This populates up talking about a Ferrari, blah, blah, blah. And it's hilarious because I saw it. I'm just like, yeah, that's not something that Coach Prime would even say. Like, this doesn't sound like something that will come out of his mouth, right? And so I did it, did a little investigating, did some searching, and guess what? Didn't find a trace of this. And it's circulating around the internet. But that quote, it's never showed up from Coach Prime. And so because of that, now everybody's like, oh, Coach Prime shot back. Pew, 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 pew. Gunshots to everybody. Man, that's not what happened because Coach Prime then had to address it, which makes it even worse. And that's where, Coach Prime's response. Please read this slowly. I never respond to any of these great coaches that continue to target me in our program. At Colorado, I'm great at walking and talking. And if there's truly me, I would have referenced a Lamborghini. That's Coach Prime. Yeah. And so because of that, now he put out right afterwards that he's trying to track down the person that put the lie out there. Who put the fake quote out? So this is where y'all got to make sure y'all pay attention to what's happening. This is how people get scammed easily and all that. You got to make sure you do your diligence when it's something that looks questionable. That was a questionable quote because he said Ferrari. And honestly, I believe Prime when he says that. I don't think he would have said Ferrari. He probably would have said Lamborghini. It feels like more his style because he's Deion Sanders. That's just who Coach Prime is. So obviously the quote was fake. It was funny, but it was fake. None of that. And I don't think BV was taking a shot at Prime. He was just pointing out the differences of approaches because Coach Prime is doing a unique approach. It is very unique. Nobody else has done that, and no one else has been able to do it and show success yet because this is our first run around with the transfer portal. I promise you, if this works for Prime, the next coach will do the same thing. I promise you. Matt Rule did not do this up there at Nebraska. LSU did not really see this sort of change either when Brian Kelly got there. And looking at all the other new coaches that showed up at their jobs, there wasn't this big of a change that like Coach Prime did. So that's an example that's big different. BV gave grace and still saw a lot of people end up leaving after a while. So, and some kids actually even came back, which is even more fascinating. But that's my thought behind it. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hop in the comments, let your boy know how you feel about this entire fiasco. I know my boys over at JP and Trav show had talked about it last night. I think y'all should check it out. They've always got some great insight. But I do think that BV did take a shot at somebody. So let's talk about the shot he did take. And this one was a shot. When he talked about how going 6-7 isn't good, but we've gotten blown out by teams like Middle Tennessee or lost to Florida State about 45-3. Conversation will be a little bit different. We was talking about the 2022 season. And yes, 6-7 is not good at all. We all know this. Losing all those games so closely, which they could have been flipped another direction. Honestly, you could have went 9-3, but they ended up 6-7. So it just did not work out the way we'd have liked. But I'll say this. As BV mentioned in this, that he mentioned those games, and a lot of people are saying that he took a shot at Miami and Mario Cristobol. I think he kind of did. I think he threw a jab because they've been in some recruiting battles recently, but I think his point behind that is that the only team that he saw a blowout with was against Texas without his quarterback, and they still kept Texas from scoring 50 points, which Texas has never scored 50 points against Oklahoma ever. And Oklahoma's done that 7 times against them. That's something to think about. But because of that, the 3 statement, though, is kind of a comparative to how we played against Florida State in the bowl game. If you think about it, you lost a lot of starters that were going pro in that game, and Florida State actually retained a lot more players that should have went pro but stayed, like Jared Verse, one of the best defensive ends in the country, decided to come back. He played in that game, and OU almost pulled it off. That, to me, is a testament of the little things that they were learning over the year finally gelling at the end of the season. That's something that you should be hanging on to and being excited about going into the next year. So do I think BV took a shot at Mario? Yeah, I think it's a little tight jab. Because it was easy to point out, because not only is Middle Tennessee a G5 school, they blew out Miami, and then Florida State beat up on their rival. So yeah, the Middle Tennessee is more so the jab than the Florida State, because they both played Florida State, and you saw how the results were. Definitely took a small jab at that. So hop in the comments, let your boy know what's your thoughts on BV's statement around Mario Cristobol and the Miami people. If you made it this far and you like the video, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We'd love to have you join us. We're talking a lot more. College football is coming up, baby, about 40-something days away. Whoo, we counting down. So the content's going to be ramping up even more because I'm on vacation and I'm back at the desk. So next Monday, prepare for all kinds of crazy stuff. YouTube says watch one of these videos. I highly recommend it because, I did it for you all. We'll talk soon. Peace.